You can spend all day counting every nut, bolt, and screw of a building and still be wrong. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to complete building and architectural quantity takeoffs using the assembly method. You can use this to quickly prepare a bill of quantities without sacrificing accuracy. Now, something that's tough about building and architectural quantity takeoffs is there are so many different drawings. You'll often see the same structure or wall from 3 or 4 different angles. So one of the actual challenges of doing a building takeoff is not double counting things. For example, if you see a bathroom, there will be a plan view of it, there will be a section view of it, there will be an elevation view of it, and they're all sort of showing the same thing. So you have to be careful with how you go through each of the different types of drawings and when to measure your quantities and when to reference the other drawings for supporting information. The basic framework is really quite simple. You have a primary quantity that you measure from the drawings. For example, this will be the linear meters of wall that I get from the plan view. You'll then come up with an assembly that you apply to your primary quantity. So an assembly, if you don't know what it is a ratio of a primary quantity you measure to a full bill of materials or secondary quantities. For example, this wall type, wall 3, for every linear meter of wall type 3 that I measure on the drawings on the plan view, I'll need 12.5 200 mil hollow blocks. I'll need 0.04 meters cubed of mortar. I'll need 4.5 kilograms of steel reinforcement. I'll need 0.012 meters cubed of grout. I'll need 0.05 lintels for spacing. I'll need 4 wall ties, and I'll need 3 meters squared of external render and 3 meters squared of internal render. So as you can see, the only thing I'm actually measuring from the drawings is the linear meters of wall type 3, but I've actually built out this entire assembly with all of the ratios that sit below it. You can do this just for materials if you're doing this for, say, procurement, or you can include all your labor within this as well. So if you're doing this for procurement, you would just do materials, but if you're actually trying to prepare a full construction estimate, then you could also derive all your labor, plant, scaffold, whatever from this. So for example, for every linear meter of wall type 3, I need 0.6 hours of a block layer, I need 0.5 hours of a renderer, and I need 0.5 hours of a painter to paint each sides of the wall. So it's actually the only thing I measure from the drawings is the linear meters of wall type 3, and all these secondary quantities are derived from this. Now, you would complete, for a wall, you would complete this actual measure on the plan view. The only thing you would be referencing the section views for is to determine the height of the wall, which is how you're actually going to calculate your assembly. So from this elevation view, I can see wall type 3 is 3.851 meters high. So what I'm looking at in the drawings is I'm looking at these drawings through Bluebeam, but I find Bluebeam isn't great for quantity takeoff. So I use ZZ Takeoff for the actual takeoff and building out the library of assemblies. But really, you can use Plan Swift, whatever. There's a lot of tools that do very similar thing. The concept is really all the same, that you have some primary quantity you measure from the drawing and then a library of assemblies or secondary quantities that you derive from this. So I'm going to start by doing an example of walls, but I'll go through and do this for flooring, roofing, all the different types of architectural or building works. And so you can actually see an example of a takeoff sheet like this, I will put a link in the video description where you can get access to this spreadsheet for free. Okay, so for my wall 3 assembly, the first thing I need to know is what the wall is actually made up of. So the way you would typically find that is in the architectural specifications if it is not shown on the actual drawings itself. So for example, this is just an example set of drawings, so it doesn't really have a lot of information in it, but this is just saying it is a painting over a blockwork wall for which is wall type 3. But typically you would have some sort of architectural specification that tells you this in a lot more detail. So for my wall type 3, because I went to the section views and I know it is about 3 meters high, it was actually 3.8, but I'm just keeping the math simple. I could then work out that for every linear meter of wall, how many 200 mil high blocks do I need within that? Say I calculate that at this 12.5. So every meter I measure on the plans, I need 12.5 blocks. I could then work out exactly how much mortar goes into this, and that could be for 40 linear meters of mortar at a certain thickness of mortar. I could measure that up for 1 meter and I could work out and then 0.04 meters cubed. Again, you get the point. It's simply understanding the wall 3 specification. So going into the architectural specification and finding exactly what it is, what sort of finish does it have on it? Is it painted? All these things. And you go through and you calculate out all of these quantities. In my takeoff software, I'll create a new linear measurement. I've got to auto scale it. I'll call this W3 for wall type 3. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a material item, which is going to be the blocks, or we'll call these 200 mil hollow blocks. And I need 12.5 blocks per linear meter. I'm going to put this rounds up to the nearest 1, and then I am going to, the units is going to be each. So that is my blocks. The next one I need is the actual mortar itself, which again is going to be a material measurement. I'll call this mortar. And that is going to be for every linear meters, I need 0.4 meters cubed. Let's put 5% wastage on the mortar. And this is going to be meters cubed. Add another one, which will be the reinforcement that goes into the wall when they core fill it. That is going to be the linear meters of that times 4.5. So for every linear meter, I use 4.5 kilograms of steel reinforcement. Again, I'll put 5% wastage on this, and then I'm going to add the actual grout to fill the blocks. That's going to be the linear meters times 0.012 meters cubed. 5% wastage on the grout. I could add paint and everything else, but you're going to get the point, and it's just going to drag the video on. So I'm also going to add a labor measurement, which is going to be a total of 1.7 man hours per linear meter of wall. Call this labor, put that in man hours, and I will add a subcontract item, which is paint. So we're paying our painter per meter squared. This will just be times 3.8, which is the height, and that is going to be meters squared. So if I then go and measure this, again, I'll show you some different ways you can do openings later, but for now, I'm not going to worry about the actual openings in the wall. We'll deal with them later. And I realize that says wall type 1, but I'm just doing this as an example. So you can imagine if there's 105 meters, again, that says wall type 1. I realize that. I'm just doing this as a simple example. I need 1,317 blocks. I need 4.4 meters cubed of mortar. I need 500 kilograms of reinforcement. I need 1.4 meters cubed of grout. I need 180 man hours of labor, and I need 400 meters squared of paint. Say a painter's charging us like 25 bucks a square meter. That is why that paint is a subcontract item as meter squared. It honestly depends what your costs are and how you want to track these quantities. Now, in practice, when you have different wall types, you obviously have different assemblies, because wall type 1 is different to wall type 3. Again, I just did it as an oversimplification, but you should also put all of these in different colors and mark them all up so you can clearly see what you've measured and what you haven't. Now, you should do all your measurements on the actual plan views unless you have a really good reason to not be able to. Some drawings might be weird or specific or make it impossible to do this, but really you want to keep the plan views as your source of truth for all this information, because if you can't use the plan views and you start measuring stuff on the section views and the elevation views, it will get confusing very, very fast. Okay, so what about when you have gaps in the walls? So say, for example, this doorway or this space, if I go back to the actual section views, look at that wall type 3. Oh no, that's not the correct one. That's the roof structure. The facade. So say, for example, we have this door and these windows within the wall. So we're actually if we're using that method of just counting the linear meters and assuming it is the same height the entire way through, we're actually over counting these spaces. So there's a couple of different ways you can deal with this. When you actually go and count the door spacings, you can just put a note in there that you have for that area. For every door you count, you have a negative wall type 3 or something. Or the window, every window you count, you can have a negative wall type associated with that. And that is just a placeholder for you to then, when you go to actually export your takeoff to Excel, you can then So if I go to my report, you can see I've got a summary item of all of this. I could just have another measurement type, which is a negative takeoff item. So negative allowance for these spacings, which I then, when I go and do it in Excel, I just simply do that as a post-processing exercise. Or I could actually build this out as assembly. So in my wall assembly, I could have negative of all of these items. So I take away 4 blocks, I take away 4 meters cubed to grout, so on and so forth. There's lots of different ways you could do it, but all you have to do is make sure when you're actually counting the walls, the windows, the penetrations, that you're minusing those quantities from this. Again, I am sort of always of the view, and maybe this is because I cut too many corners, but I'm almost always of the view that you're better off being roughly correct than precisely wrong. Unless you have a wall like this, which is all windows, I am not too fussed if I slightly overcount a few of these things. So if I was doing this takeoff, I probably wouldn't even consider the doors as a double counting thing, because really you're including wastage, you're including all these other items. You could just choose to have a little bit less wastage. I think getting too precise with this stuff is you're almost going to have more errors and confuse yourself more. So I tend to not worry about that stuff unless you have a wall like this, which is literally all windows. So it wouldn't make sense to do a wall takeoff for that. All right. Next up is the floors. And again, this is not rocket science. Instead of counting linear meters, we're just going to be doing an area measurement. So let's call this F1 for floor type 1. It's going to be a flat area. And F1 is a floor hardener finishing. We've already covered the concrete works under concrete instructions. So I've done another video on concrete instructions takeoff. So I'm not going to redo it here, but let's assume this is after the concrete has been placed. We need to allow for the floor hardener, which is going to be our first material. So this is the application of this after the concrete, not the actual concrete itself. And the floor hardener, we need 4 kilograms per meter squared, which again, you could just get that from the product information. It'd tell you how much, that's not meter squared, that's kilograms. And we'll put 5% wastage on that. Again, the way we're sort of adding wastage to everything, and there's wastage in the materials. That's why I tend not to worry about the openings and things like that, because I sort of know all of these things are estimates. You can spend so long getting it from 90% accuracy to 100% accuracy, and you can spend all this time actually confusing yourself even more. So curing compound, we're going to measure that in meters squared. We can say maybe we've got a subcontract rate for polishing, and that is just going to be meters squared. And we've got labor for the actual finishing, and we're going to say that's 0.25 man hours per meter squared. That measurement's going to be like that. We do our start takeoff, and again, very, very complicated work here. We're just, why did I do that? I am just going to go and measure the overall area. Again, that's a bench, so we would have I'm being very precise and actually cutting out the wall. And I don't think that really matters. But then we've got 821 meters squared, which is 3,450 kilograms of floor hardener, which seems like a lot. I'm not sure if that measurement, that ratio I had was correct, but again, it's too precise. I'm just proving a concept, so I'm not too fussed about that. But yes, here we go. That gives us our areas, and we've derived our secondary quantities from that. Now, ceilings is where it can get a tiny bit confusing, and you just have to be aware of whether you're looking at the plan view of what is referred to as a reflected or RCP or reflected ceiling plan. So sometimes for the actual, if you're doing like a plasterboard ceiling or some sort of internal soffit, then for those types of works, you would have to go to the reflected ceiling plan and consider and do that same takeoff, but on that drawing. Again, that's why with architectural takeoffs, they just give you so many different drawings and so many different angles from things. That's why it's careful to pay attention to the type of drawing you're using and what you're measuring. So the plan views is where you would get the floor plans, but if you have a reflected ceiling plan, which is basically like as the name suggests, it's like, if you can imagine, it's like a mirror looking up at the ceiling. So that is what you would get your quantities of plasterboard and things like that. Now, doors, again, doors and windows, you'd build an assembly of the actual door and window itself and the actual ceilings around that and all the components you need. And instead of those being a linear or an area, you simply count those, but the exact same concept as building up your assemblies. And for any sort of external facades or architectural work, again, if you have sloped roofs or things like that, that is where you have to pay a little bit of attention, and you might actually be better off using something like this sort of angle where you have a heavily sloped roof, or you can do this from a plan view, but you just have to make sure that you're factoring in the slope of the roof. So to do that, again, that's why I prefer using actual takeoff tools rather than things like Bluebeam. But you want to do that, you just go to create a new area measurement, and all these takeoff tools have this, and you simply do a sloped area and you enter in the pitch of the roof. So you will measure from the plan view, but it will factor in that the roof is on an angle. So again, it's the same concept as a floor measurement, but you just will need to do the sloped area. If you're trying to do this in something like Bluebeam, you can do it, but you just have to apply a little trigonometry. So obviously you'll use the height and the width, and then using Pythagoras' theorem, I think, if I can remember my year 8 maths, that will give you you measure the plan view, and then you have to multiply it by the ratio of the angle to the plan view, which you would get using Pythagoras' theorem. Okay, super basic, hope it helps, but this concept of assemblies and knowing what drawing you're measuring stuff off and keeping track of, basically, so do everything on the plan views, the RCPs for ceiling stuff, but if you're doing stuff on elevation views, you just have to be very clear when you're not using the plan views, so you're not double counting things. That's the biggest risk with architectural quantity takeoffs, and where you can confuse yourself, and building out these assemblies will save you a ton of time.